Whether your maternity leave is coming to an end or you are already back to work, today we are talking about breastfeeding tips while heading back to work. Thanks for joining us. This is Newbies.
He's gorgeous.
It's a girl.
Surprise! The whole family's here.
So when are you having the next one?
It's just poop.
Ready for another?
Wow, you look really tired.
Ready to go back to work?
Yellow poop? Seriously?
Did you sterilize this?
Sex? Now? You've got to be joking.
You should sleep when the baby sleeps.
She doesn't look anything like you.
I thought you already had your baby.
I did.
Babies don't come with instructions, so there's Newbies, helping new moms and new babies through the first year.
Welcome to Newbies. My name is Kaylee Hunt, and I'll be your host today. If you haven't already, be sure to visit our website at newmommymedia.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter, which keeps you updated on all the episodes we release each week. Another great way to stay updated is to hit that subscribe button in your podcast app. And if you're looking for a way to get even more involved with our show, then check out our online community. It's called Mighty Moms. That's where we chat more about the topics discussed here on our show. And it's also an easy way to learn about our recording, so you can join us live. Our expert today is Lisa Myers. Lisa has a unique story that I think a lot of listeners will resonate with. When she returned to work as a lawyer after having her son, she was determined to make this journey work. She had struggled with breastfeeding with her daughter and was committed to successfully breastfeeding her son in whatever way that looked like. But for her, she worked in an office with mostly male colleagues and quickly realized that she was out of luck as far as safe, discreet, which is important, to breast milk storage. She looked for ways to make work-life pumping more manageable. Being incredibly stubborn, like most mothers are, and resourceful, she got down to work by inventing a simple, versatile, and convenient solution. She filed for a patent and began working with an amazing team of friends to make Ceres Chill available to any mom in search of a better way to achieve her breastfeeding goals while continuing to be great professional success. Lisa, I love your bio. Thank you for joining us. Tell us where you're located and how old your two kids are now.
Okay. I love my bio when you say it too. It's all the truth, which I guess is the best part. I think that it not only is it the truth, it makes it relatable for other moms. I think a lot of people think that somehow, because I started a company and it's doing so well, I'm somehow special, but really it's that I knew what moms needed because I have been in the trenches and I definitely faced the same struggles. And so to have the community come up around us and to be able to help so many moms has been great. But yeah, I'm out in Washington State on a little island across from Seattle, which is great. I'm raising my two kids, Tegan and Colin. Tegan is my daughter. She is 10 and Colin is 6. And so, it's a great place to raise kids. And it's been interesting. I know that you are a military spouse. I launched the company during COVID while my husband was deployed in Iraq. So that was fun. That was super fun.
That's a lot. Yeah. Being a military spouse. And it's funny because every spouse is a little different. I can relate with you because my husband works insanely crazy amount of hours where he's literally gone for weeks on end. Where some spouses, their husband has a 9-to-5, which is awesome. I wish I was like that. So definitely difficult. And so I applaud you even more for launching a company with a kid. Or 2 kids. That's wild. Anyway, we have more questions for you coming up. But first, let's take a quick break. Welcome back. Today, we're discussing breastfeeding struggles that, you might come to face as a working mom. So first question, I really want to dive into your first pregnancy and breastfeeding. So let's chat about your first pregnancy. Did you know early on, which is kind of hard to think about, but did you know early on that you wanted to breastfeed? Did you have like a big drive when you were pregnant with your daughter?
No, I think like a lot of moms, I just took it for granted and didn't give it too much thought. I wasn't, grossed out or freaked out by giving formula, but certainly just thought, oh yeah, I'll breastfeed. I'll just do that. I'll just wake up, I'll have my daughter wake up and start breastfeeding. And I hate to correct anything that you said, Kaylee, but you mentioned challenges that, working moms who want to breastfeed face. And I'll just say having learned so much about the women out there that are trying to breastfeed, it's everyone. It's absolutely everyone. So many stay-at-home moms who are exclusively breastfeeding or, facing, tongue ties or different physical challenges for them or their baby or mental. It's certainly affects all of us. It seems like pretty equally, but working moms and traveling moms, it's added challenges.
Absolutely. I can so relate with you. I really heavily researched and prepared for my birth. And I was like you, I was like, oh, yeah, I want to breastfeed, but I'm okay with formula. I was a formula fed baby. My mom didn't breastfeed. Actually, no one in my family breastfed. So I didn't really have anyone to look to. And then, once the baby comes, it's like, okay, are you going to breastfeed? We got to do it now. Oh, we got to do it in another 2 hours, another 2 hours. And you're kind of stuck in that loop for the next, 3 to 6 weeks, truly. And so anyway, talking about your first daughter, did you face any struggles while you were home with her before you went back to work?
So the struggles started within the first few minutes of her life. It seems like, I was in labor for 52 hours and then an emergency C-section. Yeah. And I remember coming to and looking up, and on the whiteboard in front of me, it was like your goals for the day. And it was exclusively breastfeed, and like exclusively was underlined twice. And I'm like, oh, I was going to try to survive today and keep small human alive. But okay, apparently my goal is exclusively breastfeeding. So that's what we'll try to do. And she, I don't remember there being a problem with her, latching, but I do remember her crying and crying and crying that first night. And I was certain it was because I had no milk. I was like, I am a horrible mother and I don't know what's wrong with me, but she won't stop crying and it must be because she's hungry. And so I begged my husband to go out to the nurses, like, somebody please do something. This poor baby is dying of starvation and it's my fault. And they slipped him some formula like it was crack. And it was a baby-friendly hospital, right? So for all your listeners that don't know, it's supposed to be hospitals that pretty much outlaw formula and put not just an emphasis, but a aggressive insistence on breastfeeding. And I hate that it's called baby friendly. Like, if you are considering the needs of the mom and the baby, you're somehow not, and it might involve formula, you're not baby friendly. And the big problem lactation consultants say is when they slip you formula, like it's a big secret, and then you don't tell your lactation consultant, your supply drops because that baby's getting fed something else. You're not being honest or fully transparent with somebody who could help you. And so then you don't get what you need to maybe meet breastfeeding goals. So that was a long answer to your question, but it started from the jump. I started supplementing with formula from the very first night of her life. I later found out from a lactation consultant, she's like, hey, Lisa, you should not feel bad at all. I think you can be successful with Colin, with your son, and think about what she had gone through. Like, she probably had a headache. Like, you were exhausted, you were in pain. She had also been in labor for 52 hours and then like plucked out of your belly through an incision. Like, maybe she was dealing with some stuff too. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, never had that perspective before. So yeah, I think that the emphasis I would put on is getting the help you need, and particularly with a lactation consultant that cares and can hear you out and also consider your needs as well as what might be best for the baby.
Absolutely. And I think, to be a first-time mom again, but with all this knowledge, right? Like, we do so much while we're pregnant, but I feel like nothing really informs us rather than just going through it the first time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people would tell me, not even horror, like very positive stories, but it just would go through one ear and out. It wouldn't retain with me. I don't know. And so I love that you did supplement a little bit and breastfeed. And then your lactation consultant was like, you can do this with your second kid. How long did you breastfeed your daughter for? And then when you were pregnant with your son, did you know early on that you wanted to give it a go again?
Yeah. So I made it to 6 months with my daughter. Off and on, I pumped, wasn't hugely successful with that. I worked with all men, and it was a lot of travel. I was a litigator with an international law firm, and I made it to 6 months, and that was a goal that a lot of moms had. But I supplemented with formula from the beginning. With my son, again, the importance of community and having somebody who's a real support. One of my friends was saying, "Oh, if you want to breastfeed, you should definitely speak with Katie Dunning, who is like this local wise woman, an internationally accredited lactation consultant, IBCLC." And she was the best. She insisted that I speak to her before I had Colin. I'm like, that's weird. But she's like, no, let's just have a conversation and talk about your goals and, challenges you think you might face. And so she gave me a lot of perspective. And then when I had him, the hospital was not super helpful. What happens with the lactation consultants, they go around, they make sure that the baby can kind of, figure out what they're doing. And then they have to really address the people that are facing bigger challenges than you are. So they quickly move on. But yeah, I was able to breastfeed Colin. Well, it was also a pandemic, right? So we all probably breastfed longer than we thought we would because you figure it's the best thing you can do for your child. Plus, you're with them all the time. So I breastfed Colin for 2 years. And I think the thing that made the biggest change for me, because part of that was outside of COVID and me traveling for work, was Katie telling me, so Colin had tongue ties and she's looking at me as I'm feeding him. And she's like, that toe curling pain that I see you're in, is that the whole time or just at the beginning? And I'm like, oh, it's for the whole time. And she's like, okay, we're going to figure this out. You do not need to keep like pushing through pain the way you're doing. And so, yeah, it was great because she gave me the advice I needed to get his tongue tie revision sorted out. That made a huge difference. And she told me, she's like, if you give him 1 ounce of your milk every day, or for whatever days you can make it happen, you're doing incredible things for him. That's all you really need to do. But we're going to make this work for you. And I'm like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And so when you put it in that perspective, Kaylee, of just 1 ounce, you're like, I think I could do that. Like 1 ounce. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could do 1 ounce a day. And before you know it, you're doing 45 ounces a day for 2 years because you put it like just one, what is it? Every great journey begins with a single step. It's like every insanely long breastfeeding journey begins with a single ounce.
Oh, yes. That is so true. And I do feel like, there are some unicorn women, right, who just have a beautiful breastfeeding journey, but that was not me. I was very similar to you. It was so painful for me for honestly the first 12 weeks. And I remember I kept Googling, does it get better after 6 weeks, after 8 weeks, after? I was like, what is going on? With my case, my daughter, she was born very small, full term, healthy. She's just really petite, very petite. And so her poor little mouth was just so little, it would just pinch down on me. And because I checked her for tongue ties, lip ties, all of that. And nothing. They were like, no, she's just really small bite. So I was basically nursing a newborn for the first 12 weeks.
Oh gosh.
She was just so small. She was just under 6 pounds anyway. And so it does eventually get better. But now my daughter's 20 months at the time we're recording and I'm still nursing her, so what you just said about, it starts with an ounce and, you get determined. It's so, so true. I feel like mothers who do struggle in any capacity, they are so determined, right? Whether you have to go back to work and you struggled in the first couple of months and then you're like, no, everything's good now. I'm going to continue feeding my kid, breast milk if that's what they choose. I absolutely love that. Quick question before we jump into break. When did you go back to work with your son and how was the pumping situation like?
So yes, I went back to work just shy of 3 months, same as with my daughter, same as with, I think, most women who are lucky enough to have any leave at all. And yeah, the pumping situation, it was a non-situation. I was lucky enough to have my own office. There was a very dark room that did have a chair and an outlet, and you could pump there. It wasn't terrible. Certainly I've seen worse, but yeah, it wasn't that there was a lack of support. There was just a lack. period. There was just like, it was a non-thing. Again, I worked with mostly men, and my pumping situation was me trying to remember all the things in the fog that is those first few months of having a baby, and definitely failing to put together the fact I needed something to keep my milk cold and safe between work and home. So that's how we ended up with me inventing something. I am so not an inventor and so not an entrepreneur. And it's just, moms rise to the challenges. All of us do. And yeah, that's how we ended up with Ceres Chill. But if you want, you could jump into the break and then I could fill everybody in on the hellscape that created the opportunity.
Yes. Okay, well, let's take a quick break. And when we return, we will get all of the good details about Ceres Chill. Welcome back. So before the break, we were talking about what led to Lisa inventing Ceres Chill. So let's just jump right in, talk about it. What led you to create Ceres Chill? Talk about the moment you were sitting at your desk and you were like, this can't go on anymore. I need to make a change.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people ask me, do you remember when you first came up with the idea? I said, I can almost pinpoint the email that I was writing at the time, because I was just in the middle of my workday. I was so pleased with myself. I'd brought all my pump parts to work. I'd pumped. I'd actually created milk. It was lined up on my desk in the little, the plastic bottles all lined up. You can picture it. And then I was like, ooh, poor execution. What do I do with this? So I thought, okay, well, I got to get it to a fridge. And so I'm like, only fridge is the big communal fridge where everybody, has their lunch and hangs out, and whatever event we're having for whatever group we're hosting, all the food goes in there. So I'm like, okay, guess I got to put it there. So I'm like, and I got to walk down the hall, and none of these guys want to be confronted with the fact that I'm actively lactating. So stuff the bottles in my suit pockets, walk down the hall, go to the fridge and kind of set them in the fridge and look at them and go, yeah, that's not good. So then I went to office services. I got a paper bag. I put them in the paper bag. I put them in the fridge. And I'm like, do not forget your milk before you run to catch the ferry to get home. So I managed to remember to get it home, but I went back to my desk, sat down. I'm like, I need the breast milk thermos thing. Gosh, I can't believe I didn't think of that. So I go on to Amazon, like a good American consumer, go onto Amazon, look for the breast milk thermos thing that I knew I needed. It's not there. That's weird. So I went to Google. I'm looking. It's not there. I'm like, this is absurd. I know what I need. And couldn't find it. My friend, one of the few women at the firm, she was in labor and employment. She came by and she's like, hey, Lisa, all the guys are at lunch. Like, come on, let's go. You're late. And I said, no. I'm looking for this thing. I really need, the thing to transport my breast milk. She said, what are you even talking about? You need a cooler. I said, Helen, let me stop you. I for sure do not need another bag, and I definitely don't need a cooler. No, thank you. I'm looking for the breast milk thermos. She's like, you're insane. I don't know what you're talking about. Buy the cooler and let's go. The best part of this whole thing, Kaylee, is I refused. I dug in so hard on that she ended up buying me my first and only cooler, because I was just like, I cannot tolerate another bag. You already feel like a hot mess going back to work. I'm like, I do not need another bag. So I got a cooler. I hated it as much as I thought I would. And moms see it. Everybody knows what it is. And they're just like, oh girl, I've been there. Like they just look at you and they shake their head. They're like, good on you for trying to make it work. And what I love about Ceres Chill, having managed to invent it and manufacture it and get it out there in the world, is that now moms celebrate that part of their life. I mean, it's certainly not easy. I don't mean to say that I've changed pumping so that it's like every mom's greatest joy, or transporting breast milk is entirely effortless. But I just love the stories. There was a woman that was traveling to a Marine Corps leadership conference in Washington, D.C. as an officer. And there was another woman that was traveling and they saw each other in the TSA line and they held up their chillers in solidarity. And they were like, go get them. And they're yelling across the TSA line to each other about how awesome it was. They were making it all happen. And so it's just a different experience than the stuff moms had to deal with before.
Oh, definitely. And I think I'm even thinking like what mom who works doesn't already have bags? You have your purse and then you have your lunch bag sometimes. And then you have paperwork, right? Whether you're a teacher, a lawyer, a newsreader, whatever it is, you have bags with you. And then you have to take another cooler with you. Like we don't even
Yeah.
have two hands.
Yes.
Two arms. And so that is crazy. Okay, so walk me through what exactly is Ceres Chill and how does it differ, right, from carrying all the bags plus a cooler?
You asked the best questions, Kaylee. Thank you. Yes, it's totally different in that those coolers just they hobbled moms, in my opinion. And what made me so angry was that the entire world had advanced for every other member of society, it seemed, except for pumping moms, because those coolers have a freeze pack, a bunch of plastic, and then just like soft, and I'm using air quotes here, insulated walls. But they could keep milk at a quasi safe temperature for 6 to 8 hours. And I don't know about you, but nobody's day or night is 6 to 8 hours, and
No.
certainly no moms. So it was going to work, and then heaven forbid you wanted to do anything after work, like, maybe hit the gym if you're lucky, maybe get your commute in, go find your kids at daycare, get them home, maybe grab a drink with a colleague or dinner with your husband, like anything. All of it was impossible. A full work day, a commute, all of it did not work with a cooler situation. So the chiller is a 2-chambered steel system, so no plastic for the storage space for the breast milk. And then it's all 304 grade stainless steel, no lead components. I made sure that the bottle was the absolute highest quality that the world had to offer. So it outperforms pretty much every bottle out there and keeps up with all the big names you're thinking of that we use for water and coffee, whether it's Yeti or Hydro Flask or Swell. And it will last for 20 hours, and all you need is a handful of ice. You can pump directly into it. So everything you need to double pump is included in the chiller. And then also the upper cup and the inner chamber converts to a baby bottle, and you can use the chiller as a breast milk or formula warmer at any point when you're out on the go as well.
I love that so much. So what has the feedback been? And I'm actually, before you answer that question, I'm actually kind of curious on your business standpoint, how did you even begin to Google, how can I create my own breast milk chill, cooler? Like that is insane to me how you had this idea, which isn't insane, right? It's a very reasonable idea. But then from point A to point like what, D or C or E, like how did that happen? How did you start Googling like, I can do this? Where did you begin?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would say that I used to be terrible at asking for help and drawing on the community around me. I always was a bit of a lone wolf and tried to make everything happen by sheer force of will on my own. But when I was at the law firm, I started by asking the guys that I knew in the intellectual property department if I was right that nothing like this existed. And they said I was. So that was a help. I kind of knew how to do an IP search, but they helped me really nail it down. And then the other thing is that, they said, Lisa, if this doesn't exist, think about why it doesn't exist. Probably there's a benefit, as you said, to these large companies continuing to sell disposable plastic. So tons of plastic bags, moms go through mountains of waste. And so they said, these companies are going to try to stop you from creating this product. It will be a challenge. You could file the patent and license it to them, but they'll probably shelf it. They'll want to keep it from being created. So buy the patent just to keep it from existing. I didn't want that for moms. So I just started, oh my gosh, you're taking me back. I don't want to take up the whole show with this.
You're good. I'm interested.
Okay. I spoke to so many engineering firms all up and down the West Coast. So many of them basically gave me the equivalent of a pat on the head and a little push in the back as I was sent out the door. I had a couple firms take my money, who I think legitimately wanted to help me, but just either they couldn't listen very well or they just didn't understand. There was a lot of mansplaining, where I was told, Lisa, you said you want it, because they kept saying, I want fewer parts than a mom would be facing for cleaning up the mess of a cooler. And I want it to be smaller. I felt like, Steve Jobs or some brilliant creator with the iPhone, like make it fit this, but make it do all these things. And so these guys kept telling me, like, they would have like great advice for me. They'd say, Lisa, you want it to be smaller. We figured out a way to make it much smaller. We did some research, and infants typically eat, anywhere from 4 to 6 ounces. So we can make it a lot smaller. And I'm just like staring at them. I'm like, I know. I'm like, I don't care how much a baby eats. I care how much I have to get literally off my chest to be able to survive a day and not leak all over or have mastitis. So that's the problem we're trying to solve, fellas. Back to the drawing board. So I was just cold calling, looking for an engineer that could help me. Desperately trying to find the right people and getting turned away. Then I started cold knocking on doors. So I would get off the ferry and I would find addresses of design firms or engineering firms in places like Pioneer Square. And I would go knock on the door and see if people would have a conversation with me. I would do it on my way to work. I definitely was on top of my cases. I can't do anything halfway. So I was keeping my workload. But in my free time, I was trying to figure this problem out. So I found a really great engineering firm, Pillar Design, in West Seattle, and basically my own backyard, which was crazy. And they did a great job. They're great listeners. And we got an initial design pulled together. I met with them several times. They puzzled it out. I had filed my own provisional patent. So Kaylee, I will tell you, all your listeners, if they have an idea, I'm happy to talk with them. I would love to support what they're doing. But the International Patent and Trademark Office is one of the most user-friendly, layperson-friendly government agency and websites I've ever seen. They have all kinds of tutorials. I filed my provisional patent by myself. I am not a patent attorney. I'm not even a useful attorney. I'm not a business attorney. I was a litigator. I could stand up in court and tell a really good story. That's my thing. So yeah, but if anybody wants to go to the USPTO website and figure out how to file their own trademark for their own business or file their own provisional patent, I highly recommend going there. This is not legal advice. You definitely should get legal advice, especially as you progress through the process. But my advice is to do your best to protect your idea up front and then share it as widely as possible so you can get the support you need to be successful.
I love that. Well, thank you for diving deep. I was curious, and I can literally hear/feel your passion for this. So what has the feedback been like? I'm actually looking on your website right now, and I love that you can, one, customize it, pick your favorite color, pick your cool font on your cooler or your chiller. So what has the feedback been like since you launched, and when exactly did you launch, and then feedback from then to now?
Yeah, so launched right at the beginning of COVID. Perfect. January of 2020. And the feedback has been really overwhelming. So when I say overwhelming, I will say that I get really uncomfortable, I guess that's the best way to describe it. Moms credit me or the chiller for getting to a certain point in their breastfeeding journey, and they swear they never thought they would get there. And what I will say to all your listeners is not necessarily that you need a chiller to succeed as a breastfeeding parent, but that if you can do your best to remove as many barriers as possible between you and what you want for you and your baby, you have a significantly higher rate of success. It seems like a small thing, but being able to put something like the chiller on your nightstand so that, if you're pumping in the middle of the night or you're passively collecting milk, you can just pour it in there and not have to, get up and, in a cold house and sneak past all the people that are sleeping and go to the fridge and get that blast of light and cold air, put your milk in the fridge, come back to bed, and you're like, I'm awake.
Exactly. That was me. Yeah, that was me the first 2 months, literally.
Yeah. And so if you can make it just even the tiniest bit easier for yourself. I also threw away thousands of ounces of milk going through TSA because I had to travel, but I couldn't transport my milk because 6 to 8 hours won't do it. And if you go through TSA with a ice pack and it's not fully frozen, they make you throw it away because it could be a bomb. With Ceres Chill, you can just dump the ice and then you just go up to any Starbucks or flight attendant or bar, get more ice, and you're back in business for another 20 hours. So it just helps, like anything that you can do for yourself to make it just that tiniest bit easier, whether it's, a blanket or a nursing pillow or, I don't know, something to comfort you and something to reassure you and support you. It's a big deal. So yeah, your question, sorry. Moms say a great deal about how Ceres Chill has helped them, whether they're a postal worker with no air conditioning and 100-degree days, pumping while they're out there on their route, or they're long haul truck drivers, or they're executives that are traveling for work. One mom, so cool, she's a trainer for a semi-professional hockey team that travels, and she said, like, being on the buses with the athletes and then going straight to the training rooms and the treatment rooms, and then the hotel and the fridges, are unreliable, that there was no way she would have gotten to, the 18 months that she made it to without the chiller. She said, I never call any companies ever, but I just wanted to call you. And I answer the phones on the weekends because I want to make sure that the people that I work with can have some downtime. But yeah, so it's certainly those moms supporting each other and getting farther than they thought they could that keep me going, because it's a all hours, all hands on deck kind of job.
I love that. Yay. Well, hold on. We'll have more questions coming up. But first, let's take a quick break. And then when we jump back, I want to get more in depth about where our listeners can find you. Welcome back. We are talking with Lisa with Ceres Chill. I love this episode. We were talking in between the break about how I think this would be the perfect stocking stuffer, baby registry, even if after Christmas you still want to spoil yourself and get yourself something nice, right? As a new mom, a pregnant mom, your best friend just had a baby, which my best friend did just have a baby a couple days ago. I'm going to definitely be buying this. So anyway, where can our listeners look up your product and where can they, I guess, purchase it?
Yes. So it's conveniently in lots of places, thank goodness, all the main places online. So you can go to our website, Ceres Chill, CeresChill.com. I'm sure you'll have it in the notes. And we have a special discount for all of your listeners that will also be included in the notes. And something to know is that if you go to our website, you can personalize your chiller. So you can put a motivational phrase on it, or you can put your name on it in case you've got lots of coworkers that also love Ceres Chill. And then you can we have a wide range of different designs you can put on it. So, in my pumping era, all of the fun stuff. And you can use, the other thing to know is whether you shop on our website or on Amazon or on a site like Optum, which is, just for FSA, HSA dollars, you can use your health spending account money on pretty much every product we sell. And the chiller is intended to be used for the rest of your life. So there's nothing worse than buying something beautiful for your baby and then just waiting for it to end up in a landfill. Or if you're lucky, you have somebody that you can give it to, but breast milk and formula can be kind of like an intimate thing. And so, but having something that's your own, we have a straw top with a tea infuser accessory. So perfect for stockings, or just to treat yourself. We have tea sets. We also have, I was thinking of the things I would like to share with a friend back in the day, or things I would want to put on my registry. And we have a La Vie en Rose gift set, which has a rose gold chiller with a bottle of rosé by a beautiful women-owned winery in Washington. It's delicious and it's very pretty and perfect for gifting because it comes with a tote and any adapters a mom might need for her pump. But yeah, just a neat idea for gifts for yourself or to add to your registry. We're on Baby List, so we partner closely with Baby List, which I love. But yeah, FSA, HSA dollars before the end of the year, the beginning of the year, and certainly for going back to work or a new mom, especially an exclusive pumping mom. I found that it's a gift that's greatly appreciated, and you also look like the coolest, which is sometimes what you're trying to do at a baby shower. You're like, something for you. I got something for you, mom. Not for the everybody jokes about how baby showers are a party that oftentimes you're involved in the planning. It's a really big deal. And then you have to sit there for gifts that go to somebody else.
Most definitely. And I just love, I don't know, your website's amazing. I'm like looking at it. I think I'm going to buy one as we get off the call, honestly. Myself. But I just love I can definitely feel and hear like the needs of women because you can pump in it. It could also be, used for formula. It's just so versatile. And I love that. I love that it's not like, for instance, a pump, right? You only use a pump when you're pumping or when you're nursing. And then it just kind of, as far as mine, it's sitting in the closet. It's not being used. But it's the same as baby bottles too, right? Because now my toddler is using a sippy cup or an open cup. So I'm not even using the baby bottles anymore. But you can still use this chiller for a good while afterwards, which is absolutely amazing. Last question before we top into
real quick, Haley, I have to pop in because I feel like it's really important for you to know that you can chill an entire bottle of wine in less than 20 minutes without diluting it by using your chiller. You can't do that with a fridge. I'm just saying.
That's amazing. I love that even more now.
And on the topic of baby bottles, I know we have to go, but I couldn't help myself. You can edit if we need to, but I need to tell you we're coming out with glass baby bottles in the next couple months. And my whole thing is, why do baby bottles have to be so institutional and industrial? And to your point, they have no use except to feed a baby. And again, it's kind of this intimate thing. And especially the plastic gets gross eventually. And so then you're like, who do I give these to? I guess I recycle them. Or if you're between babies, you're like, do we keep this cupboard dedicated to baby bottles that keep falling out? Or do we put them in the attic or the downstairs as we figure out when we're going to have another kid or struggle with whatever process you're going through? My baby bottles, I'm so excited. So they're glass. They're beautiful. They look like apothecary bottles. On one side in raised glass is lavender to mark ounces. And on the other side is rosemary to mark milliliters. So it looks very natural. It's not that institutional measurement. And it's borosilicate glass. You can drop it from a height over my head. I'm not that tall, and it can hit the concrete, not shatter. It'll come with a beautiful silicone sleeve in a few different colors. It will come with a silicone collar and a silicone nipple. So no plastic, no lead, none of the toxic stuff we're trying to get out of our house. And when you are done using it, so it's beautiful. It's square, so it does not roll off a table. And when you're done using it for a baby, it comes with accessories where you can change it into an oil and vinegar dispenser for your kitchen. So it has an oil and vinegar spout and a soap and lotion pump, because why can't you use it for all these amazing other things? Like whether it's a flower vase or whatever, and you just use it all over in your house, or you can gift it. And then, baby number 2 comes along or whatever happens, and you just go through the house and you just scoop them all up and you just use them again.
You are so funny when you said a flower vase, because my husband and I are really big on mason jars. We love them. We use them. They're everything. They literally hold our leftovers and our flowers. We drink water out of them. And when these glass bottles come out, I'm going to do the same thing. They're going to be my flower vase. They're going to be what I drink my iced coffee out of. And with my daughter.
And just in time for your daughter, they have a sippy lid attachment, a straw lid, the whole thing. So you'll be all set.
Oh, I love that. Well, we'll definitely have to have you back on when these get released. How excited. Well, last question is, what tips do you have to install for, working moms who are in the trenches, who are struggling, who maybe tune in and they're like, wait a second, I need to be like the host Kaylee and Google your website while listening to the episode. But what tips do you have to instill confidence on breastfeeding's pumping while working?
I would so we have a whole blog post about it because it's like it is the question. I would say to understand understand your rights. So there's the Pump Act. There's all kinds of laws out there that support you and have place responsibility on your employer. But really, we're still in a place in history and the world where we have to own part of it ourselves. And I think a lot of employers would like to be more supportive, but they don't know where to start. I mean, heck, I didn't know what I needed going back to work. So I think to the extent that we can really take charge of our own destiny, and I know it's not easy, and a lot of us are shy or intimidated. We don't like confrontation. But I think to approach it, going to your employer and just saying, hey, I want to be wildly successful in this job. I understand your priorities and your bottom line. I see myself contributing to this company, whether it's months or years to come, but I want to be part of your success this year. And to be successful, I also want to breastfeed. Like, I'll be sick less. My family will be sick less. I want to show up and really be a part of what you're trying to pull off. I need 2 breaks a day for 25 minutes. I need a, private space to pump. I already have identified a place in the office, like this conference room we don't use, that will work for me. And I really want to work with you on this because it's something that's hugely important to me, whether that's in an email or an in-person conversation. I think that will make all the difference. And then like I said, and I think it is good to have the conversation in person because I think a lot comes from just looking somebody in the eye and reading their body language and helping to answer questions, but then removing any barriers you can for yourself and looking for ways to give yourself grace. And I know that gets used a lot, and look after yourself and thinking of it in terms of just a single ounce a day, because it really does make a difference when you think, oh my gosh, I have to pump for no less than 45 ounces every day while I'm at work. And then I have to have a freezer stash of no less than 200 ounces. I mean, I'd be done day one. I'd be like, you're kidding me. There is no way I'm getting there, and I'm already tapping out. But yeah, when you look after yourself and you put things in perspective, and you know that it's as much about you as your baby, or your, even to involve your employer, when you really add yourself into the equation and think about what you need to care for yourself, I think you'll be surprised at how incredibly wildly successful you can be. I mean, a lot of people are like, drink water, have snacks, all of that for sure. That's looking after yourself. But think about it in terms of what you need to just be okay. Like, let's start there and then move outward from that.
Absolutely. Lisa, you are amazing, first of all. Second of all, we love having all-star women, all-star moms on the show. This has been so inspiring, and I'm excited it'll go out right before Christmas and even in the new year, so people can get their hands on your chiller. Yay. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, your Mighty Moms community is really something. And I've always loved this podcast. The practical advice is just terrific. So I'm honored to have been part of this episode. And definitely, if it's okay, we'll drop in the notes the discount, and then the couple blog posts I mentioned. We have a sample email that moms can send to their employer. Just different things to help all of us take care of ourselves and advocate for ourselves that might be helpful.
How exciting. Our listeners will love it. Yay. Thank you. And And that wraps up our show for today. Thanks for joining. If you love newbies as much as we do, please consider checking out the amazing businesses that sponsor our show week after week. And we'd also love for you to tell another new mama about this resource, which of course is absolutely free. And if you want to check out some of our other podcasts we produce, such as Preggy Pals, Parent Savers, The Boob Group, and Twin Talks, then visit our website at newmommymedia.com. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram for more information, giveaways, and more. Our handle is at New Mommy Media. Thanks for listening to Newbies.
This has been a New Mommy Media production. The information and material contained in this episode are presented for educational purposes only. Statements and opinions expressed in this episode are not necessarily those of New Mommy Media and should not be considered facts. While such information and materials are believed to be accurate, it is not intended to replace or substitute for professional medical advice or care, and should not be used for diagnosing or treating healthcare problem or disease or prescribing any medication. If you have questions or concerns regarding your physical or mental health or the health of your baby, please seek assistance from a qualified healthcare provider.
Hey mamas, don't forget to check out Mighty Moms. It's our online community built for new moms just like you. Not only can you connect with other moms, but you can also join us backstage for special mom-only online events. And you'll also be notified when we're recording so you can join us as a special guest. Visit our website, newmommymedia.com, and click on the Mighty Moms banner. It's free. That's newmommymedia.com. See you there.